Hey guys, just wanted to check in with you today here and talk to you about a few things, if I could, that came up today. So one, I got a little more familiar with the Facebook page and I made a little change to it. Just want to let you know why. So um, I put and pinned to the top of the page a video where I basically read off what I call my bio, the what and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think as people that don't know me personally start to come to the site, I think if you look at a video of some things I might just have an opinion on, you agree or disagree, it doesn't get them engaged, they might leave the page kind of thing, or not really be a strict, not a strict follower, but a devoted follower. I think anybody that comes to the page and understands what and why I'm doing it, I don't think anybody could say there's a downfall to it. So I think I want to have that up front to explain, exactly what it is and what I'm doing. Every video thereafter will come and follow suit right behind it. But you'll always see that one up there, the June 1st video, telling again what I'm doing. So if you think there's no other information, just scroll down right below it, and that'll be the most recent videos of the trip and so forth. So just want to tell you about that. Also wanted to thank a few people. If you can see in the background, I'm sitting here outdoors at Ramblewood Farm in York. My daughter had a horseback riding lesson here today, and they've been very generous to me and supportive. And I wanted to recognize a few other people. A lot of people have been really supportive of what I'm doing, and some have reached out monetarily to me to get me the shoes or the backpack or the sleeping bag and the things I'll be needing. And what's funny is I've asked them, if I could kind of recognize them, and not one of them has asked to be recognized, and they said, no, look, I'm not doing it for that. And I just think that speaks to the character of who they are. No one's trying to take advantage of anything. And I wouldn't say take advantage, but no, they're doing it for the altruistic reasons behind it, and I just really appreciate that. So, but me being me, I can't just let it go without kind of acknowledging some of these folks. So Ramblewood Farm has been good to me recently. A young lady I work with, who I don't work that closely with, but really was very supportive of this. I didn't even know she was doing this. She went and got a little fun and got me a gift card. So Latoya Rogers, thank you for doing what you did there for me. Greatly appreciate it. And then there's a gentleman named Chris Erno that I golf with in a league I only met about 6 or 7 weeks ago, but yet we seem to just really click as if we've known each other a whole lot longer. And it's nice in life when you find somebody like that. He's a really good guy, and was really supportive of what we're doing. In fact, he actually heard a song on the radio that made him think about this journey, and he shared it with me. It's a country song by Luke Bryan, and I heard it, and I was almost reduced to tears a little bit in just what it's doing. I'm really big on music. I've said that many times, and I'm going to share some songs. So I might put that one on the link today, or at least get it going as I start the journey. There's 2 songs in my mind that kind of symbolize the journey to me, and this might be a third. But Chris is an insurance agent for Allstate Insurance here in York, PA. If you happen to see him, run by him, come across any of his material, and you believe in what I'm doing, just say thank you, because he's been a big believer and was very gracious as well. So again, he didn't ask to be recognized. I'm doing that as my way of saying thank you to him. So that's a couple of things I wanted to cover there. The next thing that really came up on the ride to the farm here. We were in the car, and one of my greatest joys this year is I'm a huge Villanova basketball fan, have been since about 1981 or 82, I'm going to guess. And they won the championship this year, and my kids have started to, share with Dad and love the game. And it's funny, we all kind of have a different favorite player. So the NBA draft is, I think it's tomorrow night, if not tomorrow night, the following night. And my daughter is a huge Dante DiVincenzo fan, and basically said whoever team he goes to is going to be her favorite team. And I'm a Mikal Bridges guy, and my son loves Jalen Brunson. So it's going to be a fun night at the draft, because we're all probably going to have new favorite teams off of our players. But what I found interesting was we were driving in the car, and I had some sports radio on. I had a sports radio talk on, and I mentioned to her the draft was coming up, and my daughter, she's 11 years old, said, well, I hope he goes to Golden State with Steph Curry and not LeBron. And I said, well, I don't think he'll be going to either one of those teams, but why? What do you got against LeBron? She said, I don't know, I just don't like him. And I've had this problem with this conversation for so long. If you follow sports talk, one of the things that just populates the radio or TV is who's better, Michael or LeBron, Michael or LeBron. And I'm not here to talk about either of them, but the conversation I had with my daughter was, well, why don't you like LeBron? What has he ever done? And when you think about that for a moment, Again, I look at athletes, I look at movie stars, I look at any celebrity as a person first and their talent second. And I think our society gets jaded away from that and looks at what their talent does, and a lot of times we overlook the person they are. My point, I'm not even going to try to argue LeBron versus Michael. They're both immensely great in their era. But the difference is it's a different era. LeBron James, since he's 14 years old, has had a microphone in his face. I can't sit in a room of 5 people and express an opinion without somebody taking offense to it or somebody having a difference of opinion. You know, if you're a politician and you make a statement, we have social media that just trolls these things, right? And just brings them up time and time again. You're never going to make everybody happy. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know LeBron James personally, but you know what? He seems to be a pretty damn good role model, right? So he's done a couple of things that I would not have done myself, and I'm sure looking back he might not have done. But the kid said, the kid, he's a young man, he's a man now, but he's had a microphone in his face since he was a young kid, since he was 14 years old. You know, he handles people well, he seems to treat people with respect. He's the best basketball player on the planet. From everything I hear, he's a terrific teammate. Yeah, he's jumped ship a couple of times, but I mean, he basically has been the economy for Cleveland for a while. And if he leaves Cleveland this year to move out, you'll see how much of an impact he had on the economy when they suffer, and they inevitably will. They did the first time he left, right? But he keeps himself in great shape. He's a dad. He's a mega entrepreneur in terms of what he's developed in terms of a brand. And I guess my point is, it's not to trash Michael Jordan whatsoever, you know, but I think Michael had a few skeletons in his closet, and if you had the social media dealing with things the way LeBron said to deal with things, I'm sure Michael Jordan would have said a thing or two, just like any human being would have said a thing or two that would have upset some folks. So, you know, when you compare these guys, these athletes, it's just amazing to me that if you talk specifically on the court, you know, or on the ball field, or whatever it might be, on the gridiron, you can talk about their athletic ability, but I can't do that. I can't separate. I got to look at the person first, who might be a great athlete or a great actor or a great musician, and that's the way I do it. And I don't know why so many people feel the need to be so polarized by LeBron James. I mean, even if you're not the biggest fan of his, the guy's done nothing wrong to merit my 11-year-old going, I just don't like him. And she doesn't follow sports all that well. She's just a kid, and she picks up on this. And again, sports media all day long, listen to any sports talk show, and you'll hear people saying the same thing. And it's just really bizarre to me. Forgive me for moving around here. And I started to use a couple of examples with her. I'm going to use this in my book at some point in time, but there's a couple of examples I want to give that kind of back up what I'm looking at, and that's this, right? So if I sat here, and this is the exact conversation I had in the car with her, I said, honey, if I told you about a man that spent a lot of time away from his family, was turned into a severe alcoholic, and had many extramarital relationship while he was married, you know, would you think that man's a good man or a bad man or a success? What would you think? She said, well, I wouldn't think he's good or bad, but you know, I don't think, you know, he's somebody I would like to be around. And I said, well, that's funny you say that, because if you were to go to any man over probably 35 years old, between 35 and 70, and just mention the name Mickey Mantle, people would go, oh my God, the Mick, he's the greatest ever, he's my idol, and things like that. And that's my point right there. I can tell you firsthand from an experience I had when he had his bar up near Central Park. I shouldn't say I had a big engagement with him, but later in his life, you know, Mickey Mantle, we all have our demons. He's just another human, but he turned into something of an alcoholic, and he had to kick that, and he did. And you know, what I'm saying isn't something to trash him, but it's documented in the movie 61. You know, when he was rooming with Roger Maris, that, look, Mickey Mantle was the god of New York, and he was a handsome fellow and things like that. And again, I am not judging. I'm not judging, but my point is, when we look at Mickey Mantle and we use the term idol for people, you know, recognize who you're idolizing. Are you idolizing, you know, the 500 plus home runs? Are you idolizing he can run like the wind and he wore number 7 for the Yankees and was your favorite player on your favorite team? Or are you idolizing the man? And I just kind of go for the man first. And then the other example I used, and this one kind of makes me laugh a little bit, so and I'll tell you why. So I said, babe, what if I tell you that there was a man whose son felt he could never please him and felt, you know, estranged by him. His wife became an alcoholic because she was lonely and felt, you know, abandoned at times. and his daughter had a suitcase packed in her room because she never knew where she was going to be going to live for any extended period of time. You know, again, would you think that man was a good man, bad man, a success? And again, she said the same thing. Well, I wouldn't say he's good or bad, but you know, I kind of feel bad. I don't know what kind of success he would be. Yet, if you know that man, and this is off a documentary I saw, that man is revered. Nowadays, Bill Belichick may be arguable with him, but that man is Vince Lombardi, who's generally regarded as the greatest football coach of all time. And I remembered I walked into an office of a director I was working for about 5 years ago. And right there in his bookcase, all proudly displayed, was this book by Vince Lombardi about leadership and management and things like that. And I just had to laugh to myself, because right then and there, it kind of told me that we're different people, right? If you look at his success on the football field and strictly on the football field, there's no argument that this guy was maybe the greatest football coach of all time. But what kind of person was he? I don't know. Again, I'm not judging him. I'm not trashing him. I just know that I couldn't live my life if I thought my son was estranged from me, if I thought that I was driven by something so extreme that I would almost abandon my wife and drive her to alcoholism from loneliness, and that my daughter didn't feel like she ever had a home because she was packing a suitcase every 6 months to go to training camp, to the game, to home, and things like that. And you know, I just think it's about perspective. I think that we idolize folks, and we put folks on a pedestal, and we give people passes that we would never give, ordinary folks. And one of the people that I admire a lot is because of his candor. Again, I say point the thumb, not the finger. If you ever listen to Charles Barkley might say a lot of outrageous things. I'm sure he's done some things he regrets. But he said one thing that has always stuck with me, and I think it's so important. I don't know the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, I'm no idol. I'm not anybody's idol. And he's right. You know, our idols should be in our homes, in our classrooms, in places where real people are. Those should be our kids' idols. Not somebody because he can hit a baseball, or throw a baseball, or shoot a basketball. They can be, but at the same time, like I said, for me, it's hard to judge a player as a great player if they're not a good person. They don't have to be perfect. And that's where I just think LeBron James catches some heat. I mean, this guy's a brand name and has branched out into so many things. He's 33 years old. He's got kids that he loves and adores. He's got a wife, as far as I know, that he's never, been accused of any wrongdoing with. He speaks his mind. He doesn't hide and be afraid to have an opinion on things. And yet, for being the best player on the planet, all people want to do is tell me every year how somebody's better than him. Every year it's a new guy. It's Durant, it's Steph, it's Westbrook, it's Harden. Every year. And all this guy does is go out and outplay every one of them. And again, you may not like the way he handles himself, but ask yourself, who would handle himself perfectly in everybody's eyes on social media these days? So, I really respect Charles Barkley for saying what he said. Look, you know what? I'm not your kid's hero. I play basketball, and I think it's a great thing. So I was going to cover that. I don't know why I came up today. It just happened to come up in the car. That's about all I got for today, guys. I just wanted to recognize the folks that have been so supportive and thank them personally. I want to thank you all for following me. Again, if you like what I'm saying or believe in what I'm doing, the story is really going to take on those folks once they get out there in less than 3 weeks now. But the only way this is going to continue to grow is not just by sharing these things with folks, but by actually asking them to follow and asking them to listen, because my talk today may not have registered with them. My talk tomorrow may not register with them. But from the feedback I'm getting, I might say something 3 days from now that somebody says, those are exactly my thoughts. And that's what I heard yesterday, right? Someone says, the more I listen to you, you're putting exactly my thoughts, out there. And that's really all I'm trying to do. I'm just a middle class working stiff that has decided to do something a little bit crazy. And I hope I speak for a lot of folks, and I know I don't speak for everybody, but I also want to welcome that dialogue back. So thanks for listening. I love you guys. Kira, Grace, Landon, love you guys. Have a great day, everybody.